welcome everybody. If you can hear me right now and you can see me waving at you here, please drop a hello there in the chat. We want to make sure we keep this session very, very interactive. I'm really excited today because I'm joined by Joe Manos, who I'm sure all of Executive Vice President of Client Success, and Kushal Dutta, who oversees product for us here at Mindfire. And today's session is a special one. We're using our new executive briefing format, which is a format we're experimenting with here, where we bring you one specific topic, and the goal is to unpack that in 45 minutes or less and get you out with actionable insights with time for your next meeting. So we try to give you a 15-minute break before your next session, whatever it is that you need to do, customer calls, prospecting, another sales call, whatever it is that you need to do, we're going to get you out on time. So that's the executive session. And today, if you go to the next slide, Kushal, I'm going to have Kushal and Joe go deeply into one of the most interesting areas of the Mindfire software. This is something that's brand new. We've talked about the social selling assistant before on one of these weekly shows, but today what I want to have Kushal and Joe do is get into some of the top questions that we've had from you, from the community, around how to use LinkedIn and how to use the social selling assistant to drive conversations, to grow brand, to generate more leads, and ultimately what we're all here to learn how to do is fill pipeline and create more opportunities, right? And so we want to go into those questions today. Kushal and Joe are going to go back and forth on your top questions. And as they do that, I want to keep this really interactive, which means I want you to go over to the chat, and I want to make sure that you ask questions and you ask for clarification as we're going through these different aspects, okay? So if you're in agreement with that, if you're willing to do that and you're ready to rock, give me an X in the chat so that you're hearing me and seeing me. And of course, as always, here are the X's. Come on, I want to see the X's coming in. As always, we are recording this. And so if you want to replay it, if you need to send it to somebody on your team, in a couple of hours after this event, Alex on my team here is going to post-produce this a bit, get the recording ready for you, and then you will get it there in your email for future reference. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Joe Manos. Joe.
All right. So what we want to touch on, first of all, and I'm going to kind of talk about 2 or 3 pet peeves I've got working with our customers, because my sole interest is in your growth and success. And so number 1, before I talk about the value short and long term, I want to remind you that while what we're focusing on today, Social Selling Assistant, is super, super important, I consider it to be a key catalyst towards helping you. I want to remind you, for all of you that haven't launched your ongoing nurturing self-promotion program and are investing all your time in LinkedIn marketing, shame on you, because you need to have both, and you need to have both of them effective. I'll give you an example. Your customers don't remember all your capabilities. I was talking to the presidents of one of our medium-sized companies the other day, and one of his existing customers that placed a large format print job with them 90 days ago just placed another $20,000 print job with a competitor. And he said, Joe, how the hell could they purchase from a competitor when they just purchased from us 90 days ago? I said, 1 or 2 reasons, so-and-so. 1, a new decision maker was introduced to the mix, or 2, someone screwed up and didn't call you. So again, the only way to stay top of mind is to have your ongoing self-promotion program. I'm passionate about that, and there's no acceptable reason in the world for you not to have that yet. Okay, next slide, Push. Now, having said that, what we're going to talk about today is the major gap above the funnel. The number 1 need that Dave, all of our team members have heard in the webinars when we asked what's the number 1 question you have for this webinar in all of our educational webinars is, how do I find prospects during COVID? Hell, people were asking that question before COVID. How do I find new prospects? I drove by this company. They're super big. We should be doing business with them, but I don't know where to start. And that's exactly what Social Selling Assistant was created for, to help you identify suspects, prospects above the funnel, drop them into the funnel once you've connected with them, and then start them in your nurturing sequence so that they become aware. Now, 1 data point you've heard me say before, DMA reports that B2B customers want to see 3 to 5 pieces of high-value content before they agree to see a sales rep in your team. So if you don't have an ongoing nurturing program, you're not going to be able to get on their radar. You're not going to build a trust, confidence, awareness of why they should meet with you, and you're going to miss tons of opportunities. So again, getting the people in the funnel, that's what Social Selling Assistant's about. And then once you've got them in the funnel, you better be marketing to them effectively. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is helping you identify the right people, make it super simple, make a connection, and then drop them into your nurturing sequence for ongoing communication. All right, so that's why this is the number one need of every one of our customers, large, medium, and small. And when you start to use this effectively, you immediately generate new revenue, short and long term. All right, Kush, on to you.
So we have collected some questions from you guys, and Joe has been primarily talking to a lot of you. I have talked to a few of you as well. I think the first question was about getting the link and getting the social selling assistant installed on your computer, whether you're using a PC or a Mac. It's a Chrome extension, so it works on your Chrome browser, and you have to install it as an extension on your Chrome. You have to get the link from support. We haven't made the link officially available on the Google storefront on purpose because we have restricted it to Mindfire customers only at this point, and we don't want somebody out of the blue to go into Google storefront and just grab it. So you get the link. Link is right here. I think afterwards we'll send you this deck, and you'll have the link again. Unzip the file, and once you unzip the file, it's sort of gonna look like this. Let me just go into, yeah. You will see it as a zipped file somewhere on your deck, somewhere in your Explorer or whatever you're using. Whether you're using Mac, it's going to look a little different. And once you unzip it, it's going to show up like this. And then you go to your Chrome, you open up the Chrome extension tool, which is right here, this thing that looks like a little jigsaw puzzle. Click on Manage Extensions, and you have to turn on the developer mode because it's not coming from the Chrome storefront. You have to turn on the developer mode, and if you have an existing one, just remove it and click on Load Unpacked and find it wherever you have downloaded it, and click on it. Click Select Folder, and it's going to install it. The current version is 1.74. We will send out an email if we change the version, and it will change from time to time if we have an update for whatever reason. Normally it will be synchronized with our release, so you'll know when that is. But that's basically how you install it. And once it's installed, it'll show up on your inside of your My Market section in your DaVinci. There are two menu options here. This one that's called Find More Companies from LinkedIn, and this one for visiting people in LinkedIn. Those are the two options you will see. You will see those options only on Chrome, not on Firefox or anything else. If you're running your system from some other browser, you'll only see them on Chrome, and those are the two options that'll work with the social selling assistant. All right, so if you guys have questions, drop it back to us. But with that said, Joe, back to you.
All right, so let's chat a little bit about two most common use cases in people search. We've made it super easy in the tool for you to do both, and what you'll find is you have the ability in both those areas to get more granular. I was with several customers yesterday. We were looking in St. Louis, we were looking in Dallas, and this initial search of the companies was so darn wide. I think we had 180,000. That was way too many potential prospects in the retail space for my customer to even think about targeting. So we got more granular by titles and then down to a specific city, which brought the size of the contacts down considerably. So you have a lot of flexibility, and the best way to become familiar with it is to play with it. Kush, what are your helpful hints for searching on both companies and people?
Sure. I will give a little quick demonstration here. And so we can add a list of people by just purely uploading a CSV, or click on add one person and just add a person here. But the most powerful feature is what Joe was talking about. And this will only show up, this menu option will only show up when you have the social selling assistant installed on your Chrome. So once you click on that, it's going to open up in a different tab, and it has both the companies and people tab right here. Let me just play a scenario. Let's say we are going to look for people in marketing because that's who you sell to. And let's say you are looking at the specific vertical of nonprofit organization. Okay, so I'm just going to first start by searching for marketing people. So I will type in marketing, and you can see that it has brought about 57 million people that are on LinkedIn. Obviously, I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to go click on an industry. I'm going to type non-profit. Okay. Now I'm down to 471,000 people. Joe talked about locations. So we are here in the Los Angeles neighborhood. So I'm going to pick Los Angeles metropolitan area. I'm down to about 12,000 people. I'm looking for people with title of director. Now I've got 3,200 people. The people that I already have checked off, those are people for some reason or the other are already connected to me and loaded. So you can just go through the different pages and the new people will start showing up. I can also connect to only my second degrees and my third degrees. These are connections in LinkedIn. And now I'm starting to see all new people. I usually like only doing it for the second degree people because they already have a reference to me through somebody else. It's easier to connect to them. I've got 238 results here. There are 238 people in the non-profit business with the title of Director of Marketing or equivalent in the Los Angeles area that are on LinkedIn and that are on my second degree connection. I can select them. And again, we don't allow you to bring in everybody en masse because this is not a tool for doing mass emails or mass communication. This is a tool for researching and finding the right people. Once you click on somebody, you click on Tammy Brown, her profile opens up in a different tab in LinkedIn, and then you can see if that's a person that you're going to be connecting with, you're going to benefit from it or not. But at the end of it, I always recommend typing in a tag here so that you can search and find them later. So I'm just going to say non-profit and click here to add the tag, save it, and it's going to get saved. It's going to get saved in my product over here. If I refresh this right here and type in non-profit directors, you see those 10 people, they just showed up here. And basically that's how you research it. And the companies tab gives you the same ability, except now you're searching for companies instead of people. We can go through that, but that's pretty much how you search for companies.
An interesting point. Yesterday when I was with our customer and we were looking at decision makers in the greater St. Louis area, it was really interesting. We started at first level contacts, and inside of the first 10 that came up, he knew 2 of the decision makers. He had a working relationship with them. As we went through when we went through the list further, all of a sudden he said, "Oh my God, there's a senior executive I had no idea exists in this company." I clicked on it and downloaded it. My point being that that's exactly how you want the tool to be used, to extend that reach, that identification process of other key decision makers that you can start to drop into your nurturing sequence. So you're building that trust, confidence, awareness of the value that you deliver to that organization. That's the power of the searches we're looking at right now.
Exactly. We definitely recommend doing some research on it because the tool is doing its job in finding the people for you and pointing you in that direction and saying, okay, here's a group of people that you should be looking at. But then it's your business, it's better than anybody else. So you got to look at those people and see if they're really right people or not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And one of the things that we've been talking about in my meetings is kind of the 1-2 punch. The first punch is making the connection on LinkedIn. And by the way, you can have a custom request built into the assistant. And then the second step is sending that introduction email. "Hey, Joe, I see that you're responsible for client success. We've got an amazing tool that's going to give you significantly more reach and capabilities. Let's set up a discovery meeting and spend a few minutes together." Get that introduction out there, and then after you've made the 1-2 connection, we can download those target audience and drop them in the nurturing sequence.
A good segue for me to go into the next section, Joe. Thank you very much for bringing that up. So over here now, I've got these 10 people that I've downloaded and I can connect to them via LinkedIn. And Joe also talked about sending them an email. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But let me first talk about connecting them over LinkedIn. Now, these are only 10 people. So you can say that, okay, fine, I can just go into each profile and start connecting to them. But imagine when you go back into the omni-channel training that you all have been going through with Dave, once you start doing it to 50, 60, or 100 people a day, it really starts eating into your day. It takes a lot of time. And so what we are doing is this tool is just helping you in that process and mechanizing a lot of the work that you have to do on a daily basis and freeing up your day for other things. So in each of these areas, you'll see that there's a little gearbox here that gives you the ability to do certain things. So here you will see in all 3 of them, there's this little thing called Q visits to hashtag companies and people. I think we have a slide later on talking about tips and tricks and best practices. I will address that in that session. Then the thing is, while visiting the people, so what are we visiting? We're visiting people's LinkedIn profile. And what do we do when we visit them? We can follow them. You can check or uncheck. but we will typically want to follow them so that their activities show up in my timeline. We can like the most recent posts and articles. Typically what happens is that if you do that, you start establishing a connection with the person. There's a good chance that the person may get back with some thoughts, may thank you for liking that article, and then you can engage into a conversation. So that's always a good thing to do. And then send personalized connection requests unless they're already connected. So we can turn that off if you don't want to, but typically what happens is that, and these are the variables that you can use: first name, last name, full name, company or title. With that said, you can save it. I typically say that you should start by sending connection requests to your second degree connections and not worry about the third degrees yet, but it's up to you. The system allows you to do both of that. You can just click on the visit. The system will give you a confirmation of everything that it's going to do when it goes and visits those people. Click on OK. And now it starts. You're supposed to leave this page because it will not work if you close this page. So if you have to do something else, just go to a different tab, open a different tab and start doing that, whatever it is that you have to do. But this tab, you should leave it open and you can see it says working on behalf of who, which is me, because I'm logged into LinkedIn as myself. And then it says it's visiting, who it is visiting, Dean Liu, and loading the profile and doing. What will happen is that once it's done, it'll tell you that last visited. You send an invitation, it'll tell you that, and it's also going to bring in the follower count and the connection degrees over here. And if you go to your LinkedIn profile and go to My Networks, and you will see there'll be a link to go manage your invitations. That's basically how it works to connect with people. You can also follow companies. Obviously, you can't connect with companies. You can follow companies and you can follow hashtags, and those will enable you to bring in articles associated with those companies. And those hashtags are essentially contents, which again, I'm not going to go back through that, but in the target market section, I think that's what Dave covered yesterday, where you bring in the content and then the contents can be converted into a hashtag. Typically, you'll see a hashtag button if you haven't converted here, and then you should be able to convert them into hashtags, trending hashtags for each of those contents that you're researching. We'll take questions on this. You please feel free to drop in questions. Joe, back to you.
Yeah, so kind of already touched on this, some of the filtering that you saw in using the LinkedIn, but there's another huge area of opportunity with another new tool that we're launching called IP enrichment. And this will give you kind of a 1-2 punch that adds significant value to your new prospect acquisition. Go ahead and take it away, Kush.
Talking really quickly about IP enrichment, what we're piloting with a few customers right now, and we'll be happy to work with you, but it should be launched by the end of this quarter officially in the product. But you have a good opportunity to get into the early bird situation right now if you want to. What it does is that it finds the people that show up on your website and converts them to a mailing address, and in many situations to a name and email and LinkedIn profile. So what we have suggested to our customers that are working with us is that if you're in a B2B scenario and you're doing the IP enrichment, you are going to get information about the companies that these visits are coming from, visits to your IP address are coming, visits to your web pages are coming from. And you can use the help of the social selling assistant. For example, I have people visiting from Walmart, and you can go into the find more people from LinkedIn, and you can look for marketing and advertising people in Walmart. In fact, one of the customers that I was working with, they're in the IT security business. They had some strong visits from 7-Eleven. And we went in and we looked for the directors of IT security and related areas within 7-Eleven, and we found a group of people through the social selling assistant that got our customer really excited because he thought that those are the right people for them to reach out. So that's what is about IP enrichment, working in tandem with the social selling assistant. Now, one of the other couple of things that I would mention is in terms of tips and tricks, you have the ability to filter people by, let's say, only show me people with emails. Now I see everybody with emails show up, and once you see the email, you can actually click on that email and open, and that will open up the email in my standard email editor. Whether you're using Outlook or Gmail or Apple Mail or whatever, it's going to open up a box. So what this means, this goes back to what Joe was talking about earlier, is that we are giving you the ability to connect to these people one-on-one, not necessarily trying to send them a mass email because you really haven't established connections with them. And if you send a bulk email to them with some marketing messages, you may get caught up in the spam traps. So we don't want you to get caught up in that. So we prefer that you connect to them individually, whether through LinkedIn, which you just saw, or whether directly through an email. Then you can take them over to the other side, to the marketing automation side, and start sending out emails. So you can see all these different people that you've already invited. You can see them. You can see people that you have never visited. And this is obviously, those two don't go together. And this is a good thing to have in your list. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to visit these people because I've never visited them. All these filters are there for you. The other thing is you also have this search from this list, and you can say David, and all the Davids will show up. Anybody that has David as part of name. Then finally, we have the download, which if you click on it, it's going to download the data that you're seeing on the screen on your whatever your download folder is, and then you can take that CSV and you can take it over to the marketing automation side if you like. I think our recommendation always is that this is a good place to start with direct mail, and because you haven't established connections, you can send them a postcard. You'll have addresses for many of them. We'll talk about that in detail later. So those are some of the tips and tricks of how to deal with this. Remember, whatever you search and find, by typing in something in the search box and using the filters, whatever number of records it returns, that's what's going to be downloaded. So this is what the social selling assistant is going to work on. So the search and the filter are actually very, very useful features for you. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of tips and tricks is that queue feature. The question here is that, are we going to get rate limited by LinkedIn if we run this too rapidly? If you notice, we put a gap between each two profile visits. If we are visiting, if we have 100 people in the screen and I'm visiting the profiles of those 100 people one after the other, you will see that system pauses in between, and it counts down on your screen. You can see the countdown. If I go back and just start this again, you will see there. See, it's counting down from 27 to 26, and this is a random number it creates. So the countdown time varies a little, but it does count down, because the idea is to ensure that we are not doing this too rapidly, in which case the API calls that we make will be blocked, because there's only a certain amount of API calls you can make per minute. Now, with that said, when you are able to also, theoretically, I can start running the visits to people, visits to companies, and visits to hashtags, everything together. See, it says waiting in queue. So it will not start the visits to people, companies, until my visits to people are done. And now it started the companies. So the idea is that you can check this off and then it'll all happen simultaneously, but then you have a good chance of getting caught up in the rate limiting situation, because it may be, if you're doing too many too quickly, it may be conceived as something that you're making rapid calls into LinkedIn. So our best practices recommendation is always to queue. That's the default setting. If you're doing just a few, 5 or 10 people and a couple of companies visiting, and you are in a hurry, you can do it, because we just don't want to send in hundreds of calls too rapidly into LinkedIn. And that's why you use the queue option and the gaps in between the visits. So I think that's what I think that's what covers whatever I want to talk about. Joe, you want to take over?
Yeah, so pricing discussions. We made this very, very affordable. I had a slide. Go to the next slide. I thought I put a little slide in. Of course, it's been a blur. Okay, my memory is correct. So we made it very affordable, $49 per month, and then 45 cents for each contact enriched beyond the LinkedIn information that is presented. Meaning that if we need to enrich and go find an email using the tool, then that's when the 45 cents comes in. And then we've got a special opportunity for if you've got a team, which you should have a team, 10, that might want all access to use it, certainly for our bigger, medium, large customers, 10 seats for $397 per month. So you get quite a nice savings there. Now, let me say this. I've got some customers, we'll talk about this, your first 10 customer or contact searches are free per day before you move into the 4-fee schedule. I mean, guys, ladies, gentlemen, I mean, we're talking about finding folks to sell your products and services to. And for a fact, even the smallest minimum order for everybody on this call is many hundreds of dollars. Some of you, it's $5,000. Some of you, it's $10,000. So, I mean, who are we kidding here? This should be a no-brainer. $49 a month. Everybody on this call should be signing up in a nanosecond, because if you found one customer a month that resulted in a great meeting or a new order, you more than paid for it. But it's a powerful tool. And when you pay for something, you tend to spend more time on it and get inside of it and really start to optimize it. Kush, you want anything to that?
I'm ready to take questions. I don't have anything else to add. I don't know if you had anything else after this. Let's just see.
Yeah, we're ready for questions. So let me fire a few. First, we had a bunch of questions around cost. I think the latest person to ask was Andy. So Andy, for you and the others, please let us know if what Joe just shared clarifies. Like Mark just said here in the chat, LinkedIn Premium is double the price with 25% of the value. That's from Mark there in the chat. I appreciate that. Carrying on with Mark, Joe, let me direct this next question to you. Joe, if you remember, you started the session today talking about self-promotional campaigns.
Yep.
And so Mark is saying, regarding your initial comment, do you consider peripheral topics, for example, direct mail and millennials or QR codes, as an effective self-promotion nurturing campaign, or something more direct recommended, like, for example, direct mail or fulfillment projects that they've worked on, a list of services they offer, etc.? Kind of give some guidance around what you're seeing there and what you think about that.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First of all, for everybody on the call, all of our self-promotion, messaging, marketing content needs to be presented from your customer and prospect's point of view. I saw a program the other day where one of our printers said, basically the call to action was get a quote. I mean, who are we kidding here, guys? If you want to build the value, the uniqueness factor, the differentiator between the value you are offering your customers and what everyone else on the street is selling, you have to start a dialogue and start presenting your solutions in that manner. To Mark's question, I love very directive solutions. We've been working on innovative, this is your communication to your target audience. We've been working on innovative programs to help you improve your results. One of the top performing areas has been our highly personalized targeted direct mail, outperforming all digital channels. Okay, that's a new data point for many of your customers. The fact that direct mail, highly personalized, is outperforming all digital channels. To learn more, download our ebook, Millennials and Direct Mail. Now, this is just one example of how we can help you. There are many others depending on your specific unique need. Okay, that's very specific, very directive. Now let me flip the script real quick. We've started helping customers who want to paint a little broader picture. For instance, we've been working with customers on a number of innovative programs to help them achieve their company objectives. Just to name a few, we've been introducing innovative fulfillment programs, guaranteed to do X and Y. We've been doing large format programs, Let Your Marketing Genius Soar. We've been doing web to print solutions that now enables you to do A, B, and C. Now that's the, let's introduce 2 or 3 solutions, paint a picture of the value, and oh, by the way, download our FAQ document that answers the most common questions about these areas. Does that help, Mark? And if you want to do a follow-up meeting, I can show you examples of all the above, but very clearly, both work. But here's the key. If you're just going to do it once and then turn it off for 2 months and then turn it on again, it's never going to build the momentum where your customers start to look forward to your next post because they're going to learn something new. You're viewed as a thought leader, a purveyor of high value information. I call it when you've moved across the service provider to a critical resource for your customers. All right, that's the objective. Hope that helps.
All right, we got 8 minutes, folks. I'm going to try to get to as many of your questions as possible. Mark says, yes, thank you, Joe. Forget cloning me. I want to clone Joe. Amen to that.
Dave?
Let's make 100 Joes. Yeah, hang on, Kushal. Let me go one by one. Next question here is about sub-accounts. And George, I think I answered that for you. The question, fellas, was, can the social selling assistant be used in a sub-account? So George has a client that he wants to use this for, I presume. The answer is yes. This next one, I think I'll throw at you, Kushal, and it's more just a heads up. Mark says, hey, I've been using social selling assistant almost every day, which is great, Mark. That's good to hear. I've uploaded several CSV files and just saw the people, or find more people from LinkedIn selection that you showed, Kushal, in your demonstration a moment ago. So just an FYI, he said, I'm not sure if that was a system issue or user error. So maybe Mark is suggesting there, Kushal, that should be moved up in prominence so more people can see that. Did you have something you wanted to add there, Kushal?
No, I think these are there's nothing really to add. I think these are the types of things that we want to hear from our customers because this is the first time we've published this, and we are learning with you guys. So if you think that something that we could have done that would improve the user experience, that would make it easier or better for you, by all means, just shoot us an email, send me an email directly, and just keep copying support on that. That way, at least if I'm traveling, or which is not likely,
Where you headed?
whatever, at least somebody else gets to it and gets hold of me and says, hey, get this done.
Joe, did you mention this? I see a question here from George saying, I think it was regarding the social selling assistant. So 10 of these people can be tweaked daily for free. Now, Joe, I'm going to turn that over to you. Do you recall saying something like that? Is that true?
Yeah, that was our intro program to get people to test it. You could do 10 company searches or 10 folks searches for free. Obviously, we're trying to get some momentum going, users, because the more you use it, the more you like it. And then when you cross over that, then you go into the paid version. But based on the pickup we're getting from customers, I'm pretty sure that we're going to start charging for everything in the not too distant future. So jump on the special price now before we raise it.
So, Joe, next question I'll throw at you from Andres. He's asking, are all these new tools in my subscription or yearly contract?
No, the new tools are add-ons. And so like the one we're speaking of right now, Social Selling Assistant is $49 per month. Very good price. These are add-ons to your current solution. Now, let me say this. His team has added a tremendous number of additional capabilities, functionalities that we didn't raise the price of the annual fee over the last year. But these are special additional capabilities we're showing you that do have a few additional pricing. Yep.
Joe, did the $97 a month enrichment program go away, or is that for something else?
That's a good question.
Mark is referring to, Joe?
Yeah, I will take that. So when you come into the companies tab, right, you will see this, the companies for which you already have the domain, you will see this little button that says find people who work here. This is the paid version. This is when you click on that, that's when the $97 comes in, okay? And that is going outside of LinkedIn, going into several of our partner databases, searching for people that work in those companies and brings those people back. I think it brings back a certain number of people I have to check. I think it's more like 50 people that it brings back initially, then sends you an email with a link saying that, okay, there are so many more people in that company to be found. And if you want the rest of them, give me a yes here. And obviously, once you approve it, it goes into, it lets you pick what management level, job function, and title and all that, so that you're not stuck with retrieving a trainee or somebody that you really don't intend to interact with.
Let us know if that answered your question. I think that's what you were getting at. Joe and Kushal, we only have 3 minutes, so I got to be quick. Andy is asking or saying, I don't need the LinkedIn subscription. I can replace it with the social selling product. I think the answer, I'm just looking for confirmation. Andy, what I would suggest you do is talk to Joe, make sure you're clear on what your objectives are. Let's make sure that what you can do here in the social selling assistant meets your needs. And I believe it should meet that and then some. And if it checks all those boxes, then yeah, I think you're on the right track there. All right. Any other questions? We're going to keep our commitment. We've got 120 seconds left here. Mark has another question about the what you just showed there. So Mark, we'll follow up with you separately on that. Jessica, can you make sure that we get with Mark on his question? I don't want to run out of time. Jessica, if you can confirm. Melissa says, thank you. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Melissa. Jessica will follow up with you, Mark, on that. And if there are any other questions, please let us know. Here's my question for you folks. I like to get feedback from you. Did you get value from what Kushal and Joe just shared with you today? If you did, go into the chat there and give them some love. Give them some thank yous. Give them some X's and O's. Let us know if you enjoyed today's material, if this was helpful to you. We'd really like to see that, and it helps us continue to produce this kind of content for you. So, Joe, did you want folks to visit this location here?
Absolutely. Feel free to visit, and there's more to learn. And if there's something I can help you with, please let Jess or myself know. We're here to help.
Awesome. Mark says, seriously? This was great. Yeah, Mark, we want to know. Keep the love coming in. George says, thank you all. George, thank you for being here. Mark says, super job, guys. Thank you. Andy says, great presentation. That's good. That's helpful, folks. We try to do our absolute best producing these events every week. Sometimes we focus it in on a smaller group of people like we're doing today to keep the conversation intimate and get the two-way conversations flowing. Sometimes we do larger groups, simulcasted in numerous locations. So it's a lot of work, but we do it because we believe it delivers you value, and we hear good feedback from you all. So thank you for that. George, you're welcome, George. Thank you for being here. Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you to give the final word, and then we'll let everybody go.
Yeah, there's a tremendous opportunity out there in your customer and prospect databases. If you're using one of our marketing approaches, congratulations. If you're not using all three, Shame on you. There's lots of money there for you. So let's get busy. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you again, Kushal, for your time this morning, and you, Joe. And most importantly, thank you to all of you who attended today. Have a great rest of the day and a fantastic weekend.